You know that by living in this country and having lived through the pandemic, many of us in different regions are living through extended restrictions and lockdowns. The province of Ontario is talking about extending its stay-at-home order when it expires about 7-8 days from now. Of course, that would take us through the long weekend. Small businesses have just been hanging on by a thread, trying to get to the other side of this, starting to get some real sense of desperation out there. Dan Kelly is the president and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, joins us now. Dan, I know from watching your Twitter feed that you're hearing from your membership in terms of the fact that they're at their wits' end. They don't know. Do they just start defying the orders? How do they survive this?
Yeah, we're in a pretty dangerous spot right now. Obviously, with COVID numbers coming down, the end of the Ontario lockdown scheduled, at least originally for May the 20th, business owners are kind of at the breaking point, and many are asking us, in fact, encouraging me to name a date and then call for all businesses across the country to reopen as of a certain date, ignoring the stay-at-home orders, the lockdowns that have popped up in many provinces across Canada. CFIB is not set up to do that. That's not our goal, but I can tell you, I worry that government's got to hear this message that they've got to find a pathway to fully support these businesses and give them a pathway to safely begin to reopen their business, at the very least a plan to reopen their businesses, because otherwise I think we're going to be moving back into some civil disobedience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, desperate times, you know that people will take desperate measures. You talk about a plan, right? Some sort of path forward, because we know we've been through this over and over and over again. It doesn't feel like it's enough right now to simply tell people, okay, we're going to extend this lockdown and this will be the last one, or there's brighter days ahead. It just feels like it is never ending to a certain degree.
You know, as we sit today, Toronto restaurants have been locked down to indoor dining for 340 days, gyms for about 330 in the GTA, hair salons for about 250, and retailers for over 200. The longest lockdowns in North America by far, one of the longest lockdowns in the world. And in other Canadian provinces, now we have Alberta, Manitoba, Nova Scotia moving into lockdown. I got to tell you, you know, we are really, really worried about the future of these businesses. And it's easy to judge a business and say, well, come on, you got to be crazy to even think about reopening at this time. But if your house was on the line, your business, you've depleted your entire retirement savings, your home is about to be lost because it was mortgaged to get your business going. Your choices are certain failure of your business if you're not opening soon, or taking a chance at reopening your business and maybe having a trickle of business income over the next little while. I can understand why some business owners are thinking that you know, flouting the law may be their only option. If governments are going to extend these lockdowns by a single day or hour, they need to step to the table with some additional support. Otherwise, things are going to break apart.
It's been interesting throughout the pandemic when we talk about insolvencies, bankruptcies. They have remained low, either on the consumer side or on the business side because of all the supports, but we're starting to see a bit of a shift in that. We got new numbers today that are pretty troubling. Total insolvencies jumping more than 22% in the month of March compared to February. But you look at the retail sector and they jumped 150%. I mean, this tells me that for as many supports that have been in place and as many ways that people have found to get through to the end, they're definitely, by these numbers, at that breaking point.
They certainly are. And look, we've known for some time and predicted for some time that there will be a delayed reaction. A lot of businesses are kind of just frozen in place right now. But as they begin to reopen even, we expect to be seeing huge numbers of bankruptcies. In fact, that's exactly what's happening in the U.S. right now. Yes, the economy as a whole might be on a bit of a tear, but when you look behind the scenes, it's what's happening to those sectors that were most deeply affected. There are a lot of businesses failing in retail, hospitality, the service sector, areas where lockdowns really bit hard. I very much expect the same in Canada. And of course, given that the lockdowns were much longer, we still are holding to our estimate of 180,000 additional business failures before the end of the pandemic. That's 1 in 6 businesses that we expect to no longer be here by the time this is all over. The only thing that I can tell governments to do right now is, A, give us a plan to reopen the economy, even if the dates are not 100% fixed. tell us, like Saskatchewan has, what milestones need to be achieved before we're going to see this much capacity operating in businesses. And secondly, make sure that the support programs are fixed and in place for a longer period of time. Right now, the federal wage subsidy and rent subsidies are supposed to start to drop as of June. We need to put that on hold, given that half the country's still in lockdown, and it's now mid-May.
Is the tension point here for Ontario and perhaps other regions as well the fact that as the stay-at-home order expires or is set to expire in the province of Ontario, you're coming right before a long weekend? It doesn't surprise me that the government started putting out that messaging saying it's going to get extended, because I wouldn't expect them, given what's going on, to drop it right before a long weekend. At the same time, though, you get this tension. You're talking about a plan, right? I mean, are you talking to many people who think it's going to happen before the long weekend? Because it doesn't really seem realistic.
No, look, I don't think Ontario is going to move in that direction as of the end of May. Look, the numbers, COVID numbers, are encouraging, and so it is nice to see that drop. The public health officers have already suggested that there needs to be well below 1,000 cases a day, and we're still more than double that in Ontario. So, look, COVID numbers can change for the worse quickly, but they also can change for the better quickly. I am hoping that what the province of Ontario does is at least lightens some of the lockdown restrictions next week so that retailers can open. I mean, for goodness sakes, in Alberta and Manitoba, where COVID cases are far worse than Ontario's right now, they've at least allowed 10% capacity in retail. These are some of the measures that need to be explored. The other is, of course, now that we've got rapid testing rolling out in a bigger way, especially here in Ontario, allowing businesses, say the hair salon, they should be able to reopen the door if they agree to test their stylists, say, 3 times a week. This is the kind of stuff we got to replace blanket lockdowns with something better to try to keep COVID numbers down while we begin to reopen the economy. But I've not seen any leadership coming from governments. They're putting some of the infrastructure in place, but the policy framework to make it happen, it's been lacking.
All right, Dan, definitely appreciate you joining us, and with your insight, we'll speak soon.
Anytime.
Dan Kelly is President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business.